few moments to prepare. All right, okay, so it seems like we are ready to roll and get ready to initiate our second talk in Schedule B for, I guess, this year. And so today, joining us, we have Hongbo Zheng from Wuyan University, and he'll be telling us a little bit about some very interesting irreversible climatic transitions happening at the Eocene and Oligocene transition, I think, today. And so with that, I think we'll just get started, and I'll pass on the hosting over to you, Hongbo. And if you just, I think you're already sharing the screen, I believe. Can somebody ratify that everybody can see Hongbo's first slide? Thanks, Renji, just around the corner for me here at UQ. Thanks, Renji. Perfect. Okay, so all right, with that, thanks, Hongbo.
Okay, Tara. So after you see me, I switch off my camera. So good morning, afternoon, or whatever, evening.
Hey.
The title of my talk is From Desert to Monsoon, Irreversible Climate Transition at 36 million years in Southeastern Tibetan Plateau. My co-authors, including Dr. Yang from Yunnan University, Shuo Cao from University of Geoscience of China, Beijing, and Meng Yinhe from Nanjing Normal University, and Peter Clift from Louisiana, and Tada-san, Kano-san from University of Tokyo. I will be trying to present some solid evidence to show a climatic transition from aridity to humidity. This transition is well dated to be around 36 million years. And by doing so, I'm able to shed some light on the long-standing issue as to when the monsoon came into existence with a bit less uncertainty. Okay, no need to say much about the present-day monsoon. However, I would like to draw your attention to the location of our study area, because here we see not only the Indian monsoon, but also the Southeastern Asian monsoon. And not only the monsoon, actually, here the westerly also plays a little bit role in modulating the climate here. But keep in mind that currently the westerly is split into two branches, the southern and the northern branches. So I would imagine that the westerly jet would look different when there was no such a big Tibetan plateau. So in this regard, we also should keep in mind the role that the topography has played in modulating the climate regime in this particular region. Anyway, the issue concerns us, including when did the present climate, I mean the monsoon climate pattern came into existence, and what has driven or at least strengthened the monsoon climate uplift, in particularly uplift of Tibetan Plateau, or global cooling, or both. A little bit of review of the timing of the onset of the monsoon in Southeast Asia at least, as we all well know that the early Miocene onset is a predominant view. For example, as many lines of evidence indicate that during the Paleogene time, an arid climate zone prevailed the middle latitude across China or even across East Asia. But during Neogene, and the arid zone retreated to the northwestern corner of China, giving way to the penetration of the monsoon. So there's a lot of evidence. So we just skip this. But the predominant view, the early Miocene view has been challenged recently more and more. For example, Dr. Leach proposed that the monsoon might have come into existence by late Eocene, as evidence from Myanmar indicates. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have chosen southeastern Tibetan Plateau as our study area, or more precisely, the Jinsha Basin in Yunnan province, this little dot, for the reason that this area is sensitive to and have experienced changes in both climate and topography. And the Jinsha Basin contains good successions of Cenozoic sequences. Jinsha Basin is located to the southwest of the first bend, if you know the first bend of the Yangtze River, which looks like this cover photo of this particular PNS issue. The formation of this first bend marks a key event in the evolutionary history of the Yangtze River, which has been the subject of our extensive investigation for the last quite a few years. And the Cenozoic sediments in this basin provide great opportunity to study the history of the Jinsha River or the Yangtze River, and broadly speaking, the tectonic geomorphological history of the region, of the southeastern Tibetan Plateau. But in this talk, we focus on the climatic information that has been preserved in the sediments. So, Jinsha Basin is a pore apart basin which has resulted from the large strike slip faulting systems in the region. The Cenozoic sediments are well preserved. However, the stratigraphy has remained an issue of a great debate for more than half a century, for almost a century. And this is exactly what has spent our enormous efforts. In recent years, with the help of absolute dating of volcanic rocks and sediments interpreted in the Cenozoic sediments, we finally established the stratigraphy, the Cenozoic stratigraphy. The most worth noting finding is that all the lithologic formations in the basin are falling into the Paleogene. This means that some of the formations, which were previously believed to be of Neogene, Miocene, Pliocene, even Quaternary age, are no longer that young. They're all within a Paleogene, from a Paleocene to Eocene. So in brief, the Cenozoic sequence can be divided into two distinctive units, and the lower unit is characterized by, generally speaking, red color, and the upper is by light color, and the boundary is almost precisely dated to be 36 million. So now let's go to the field to see how the rocks look like. So this is a typical scene of the Yunnan Plateau in the southeastern margin of Tibetan Plateau. With the Yunnan Plateau has an average elevation of 2500 to 3000 meters elevation, okay? But in this particular area, the Jinsha Basin, now it's not a basin, it's on the surface of the plateau. We see horizontally bedded sandstone and conglomerate. Yeah, broadly, generally speaking, in the field, we see this is pretty common in this basin. But if we zoom in, we see two distinctively different units, as I mentioned before. The lower is called the Baoxiangsu Formation, which is very red, dark red, and the upper is Jinsha Formation, which is a light yellowish color. The Baoxiangsu Formation is basically dark red colored conglomerate interbedded with minor sandstone. The sedimentary environment was proximal alluvial fan system in a relatively arid climate. I will explain why we believe it is arid and it is a proximal environment. And we go further up, but still in Baoxiangsu Formation, we noticed the most unique feature, which is the high angle, large scale cross-bedded sandstone. This is, as I said, this is a upper part of Baoxiangsu Formation, and we have done a lot of things to examine the origin of this sandstone unit, including grain size analysis, including SEM examination of the quartz grain, and all that kind of things. And we figured out this is of Ulian sandstone in origin. It's just Ulian dunes, which indicate a maximum aridity at this time. The upper unit of the Cenozoic sequence include three formations, and I now show you one by one. The first one is Jinsha Formation, and it is composed of light yellowish colored sandstone. We can see beautiful bedding, thick sandstone, each set up to 2 meters thickness. And fuzzy analysis indicate that the Jinsha Formation is formed in association with a large fluvial system. This is a part of the paper we published in 2020 last year, which indicate that this fluvial system actually is part of a southward flowing river system, the so-called Paleo Jinsha River, which flew all the way south to the South China Sea, and then sometime in late Eocene, the river bended to the east, making the first bend of the river and making giving birth to the eastward through flowing river system, which is the present day, the modern Yangtze River. So this is about the history of the river, and also the history, the tectonic geomorphological history of this region. All I said was, at this time, the tectonic and the geomorphology of this region experienced dramatic change. Okay, so Jinsha Formation was previously assigned an Oligocene age, and we know that now it is Eocene, late Eocene. And another unit is Stronghold Formation. Stronghold Formation is actually a coal series, and it was previously assigned a late Miocene age, but now because we have volcanic rocks, volcanic sediments in the coal, and we have a much precise date which indicate a late Eocene age. Another unit, another formation in the upper unit is a little limestone unit, which is called Jiuziyan Formation. And this limestone unit, there's a lot of story about this little limestone unit. This is especially restricted only to the basin center, is to a very small area actually. The origin of this limestone and the age has been a big argument. For example, some people believe that it is a marine limestone. And some believe that it was a lacustrine limestone. But now, after many years of work, we believe that it was deposited in an environment fed by spring water. So now the stratigraphy, as we established now, is that these three lithological units, formations, belong to one unit, and they are formed during pretty much the same time, instead of from Oligocene to Miocene to Pliocene, as previously believed for so many years. So up to now, we have noticed that the changes in lithology represent a major change in sediment environment, which indicate a major change from a relatively arid environment to humid environment. And this argument is further confirmed by our palynological study. The palynological study indicate that the Baoxiangsu Formation contain very sparse pollen with dominant arid species, whereas the upper unit, for example, the Stronghold Formation, the coal series, contains abundant pollen grains with dominant humid species. Actually, from the point of view of biodiversity, and this is the time when the biodiversity, as we know that Yunnan province is a hotspot for biodiversity, and we can imagine that from this time onward, the biodiversity, the modern biodiversity of this region was established, crossing this boundary. So not only do the lithology and the palynology indicate a dramatic change from aridity to humidity across 36 million years, we also carried out oxygen and carbon isotope study on the limestone. and we can see clearly the cyclicity feature, and which we interpreted as a seasonality of precipitation and temperature. And so this is again a typical signal of the monsoon. So now let me summarize what I have talked about so far. The Cenozoic stratigraphy of Jinsha Basin in the southeastern Tibetan Plateau has been revised largely with help from argon-argon dating and uranium-lead dating of volcanic materials. The sediment span an age range from Paleocene to latest Eocene, without myosin, without Oligocene, myosin, and Pliocene as previously thought. But around 36 million years, we see significant changes in lithology, in sedimentary environment, in sedimentary provenance, in the ratio of hematite goethite, which is an indication of weathering and aridity, and also pollen, all indicate that the climate shifted from dry, arid condition to a relatively humid regime, which is, we believe, the onset of monsoon, of course. But we noticed that this change, which is around 36 million years, is older than the 34 prior to the 34 big change, the time when global temperature experienced the greatest drop here around 34. So this takes us to the argument as to whether the shift of the climate pattern in this particular area in particular was caused by uplift of Tibetan Plateau or global cooling. So having said this, I present my argument here, and that is Tibet. Because when there was no high Tibet in this, for example, in this diagram, the westerlies prevail the middle latitude, causing aridity in a horizontal region, and when there is a high plateau, as it is today, when Tibet went up, say, to a certain height, over 3,000 meters high, the westerly is deflected into two branches, the northern and the southern, and weakened. And this gave way to the monsoon to intrude. So this is my simple explanation, and to the simple but solid evidence. And I just borrow some evidence from this paper we put in PNS a few years ago about the onset of the formation or the birth of the Taklamakan Desert, to show the role the topography, the Tibetan Plateau topography play in modulating the climate system. And in this paper, we said that the formation of the Taklamakan was in Oligocene, and that was due to the uplift, surface uplift of Tibetan Plateau. Actually, this piece of evidence is in line with, because we are talking about this side, and the monsoon on this side, and they came into existence at almost around the same time. So Yeah, I just wrap up. So Cenozoic sediment sequence from southeastern Tibetan Plateau, constrained by volcanics, provide solid evidence to suggest that the climate regime shifted from a desert environment to a monsoon at around 36 million years. And I believe that uplift of Tibetan Plateau has been playing a dominant role in driving this climatic change. And I just want to stop here because in this talk, I just want to keep as concise as possible, just to show the evidence and to present my interpretation. And thank you. Tara?
Okay. Let's see, yeah, good. My video is back on. Well, thank you very much, Hongbo, for your talk today on some of your newest research. And so at this point in time, to kind of encourage more open discussion, what we're going to do is we're actually going to stop the recording of the session and the live recording on YouTube. And I don't think we have that. I think I'm just checking the YouTube that's live right now. And this is just to, again, encourage, again, more open discussion. And I encourage also those of you who are in attendance today live to type your question into the chat box. That way, so everybody can read it and then as well as hear it when basically myself or Liv, if you feel free as well to kind of introduce the question. So I'm going to halt the live recording here. And again, this is just to, again, encourage more discussion that's open.